Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Large Scale Consolidated Live. And we're back here with Andrew from MrPictovid. Is it him or is it Memorex?
You were pointing the wrong way. Yeah,
This way? That way.
yeah, I get the direction right.
Oh, okay. It's actually opposite from what I see here, so it's easy to get confused.
Is it because you're in New Jersey, everything's opposite, or what?
No, I'm not in New Jersey. I'm in South Jersey.
I keep forgetting there's two jerseys.
So now you're confused.
I'm always confused. Let's be clear about this.
Yeah, so welcome aboard, everybody, to another show. And so we're going to go through our guests, and as we normally do. And let's see who we have tonight. And so we're going to start off. Let me get up here. Why is my computer not cooperating with me? There we go. We got Bruce Morrill, Stay Loaded, Canadian Railroads, Slag Cat, Chesapeake in Ohio, Paul Torres, G Scale Trains, Canadian Railroads, Joseph Lipinski, Vernon Guess, and let's see, Jonathan the Fish Guy. Scrolling through, make sure I don't miss anybody, Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah, Columbus Garden Railway Society, Kyle Kuiper, and still Steve Junkst, David Bush, James Catlin, and still moving on Dunbar. And we have, I know we got more than that. And still scrolling through, and Ken Hoffman, and Zachary Riggins, and then Wig Wag Workshop.
All kinds of people in here tonight.
Yeah. Chicago South Shore and South. I'm not sure what the rest of that is, but. And then Taya Capel Woods. Hello, Taya. Jerry BWN. RMA 1958. Rockwell Canyon Railroad. Yeah, we do have quite a bit of people showing up. So welcome aboard, everybody. Before we bring up our guests tonight, me and Andrew decided that we wanted to give everybody a show updates on the upcoming large scale train shows that are coming along. And so I talked to, for those who don't know, I went to the Great Scale Train Show in Timonium, Maryland. And Dan from Star Hobby is always usually there. So I asked him about if he knew what vendors would be there. And he did say and mention that he has confirmed USA Trains will be at the East Coast Large Scale Train Show, which will be held in Annapolis, Maryland. Remember, the show location has changed for 2022 over, past years. People were used to it being in New York. And then it went to Timonium in 2021. It was moved to Annapolis, and so they're having it in Annapolis again for the second year in a row. USA Trains will be there, so that's exciting news. They do have, Dan did mention he's got 3 clubs so far signed up. He has the Washington, Virginia, Maryland Garden Railway Society, the PVC Train Runners, and I'm not sure if I'm going to say this word right because I'm not good with the certain words, but the Eichenbach live steamers. Is that correct, Andrew? Am I saying it right?
I believe so. So
the Eichenbach live steamers will also be there at the show. Okay, and I know you have some updates you want to give as well there, Andrew.
Yeah, let me get the right thing here. So, of course, as we mentioned on the last show, the Riverside Railroad Club here in Northeast Ohio and Warren will be holding their all G scale show coming up this summer, June 25th and 26th. It was a one-day show last year. there was a pretty good turnout for it. So I'm expecting the 2-day show is going to draw a little bit bigger crowd. I think it'll be a pretty good show. There also will be coming up March 19th down in Westchester, Entertainment Junction. There'll be a G-Scale only swap meet taking place there. I have yet to go to that one. I may try to venture there this year, and the bonus is it's at Entertainment Junction. So if you want to see probably the largest G-Scale indoor display, it's worth going. So let's see, we had that. I also wanted to mention, although I don't really have a flyer for it, I'll bring up the webpage. RLD Hobbies holds their spring open house every year. April 29th and 30th will be this year. It's always a good time for people that want to go and take their trains, run, hang out with other people. Always keep in mind, if you're going to go, that he's battery or live steam only. He doesn't have track power, so plan accordingly. But that is always a good time. And then, of course, we also have the NGRC coming up again this year. It's going to be the Denver Garden Railway Society is going to be hosting it this year. Looks like it's June 19th to the 25th is when that's going to be taking place. I don't think I have anything else. I will say that if there's any G-Scale events going on that I didn't mention or of that I don't, if you want to shoot us an email to info@largescaletrains.com with information on it, we'll more than gladly throw it up on the screen on one of the upcoming shows and let the viewers know about it.
And Vernon Guest says that Reindeer Pass will be at the NGRC.
Oh, that's good to know.
And if I'm correct, Vernon Guest is the new owner of Reindeer Pass, correct?
Why you got to put me on a spot like that? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I know they changed owners. So anyway, before we do bring up a guest, our next guest, we got what do we have there, Andrew?
Well, as we said at the end of our last show, when we had David Bergman on from Splitjaw, he's actually going to be the sponsor for our show. So to show him appreciation for sponsoring the show, we have a short little sponsor video that we'd like to run for him on each one of our shows. So without further ado, here's our sponsor video for David for his appreciation of sponsoring us.
The following episode of Large Scale Consolidated Live is brought to you by Splitjaw, makers of quality metal products for the G-Scale modeling world. For rail clamps, expansion joints, bridges, and more, Splitjaw products has you covered. For more information, check out their website at www.railclamp.com.
And
there it is.
That was our sponsor, so yes. Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm going to put this up here for Taya. The Train Operators Convention, June 19th to the 25th in Mystic, Connecticut.
Yep, Connecticut.
Thank you, Taya.
Yes, thank you very much for letting us know. Like Andrew said, if you have an event coming up, let us know. We'll shout it out to everybody.
All right. So our guest has been waiting patiently. Without further ado, here is our guest, Jed Hacker.
Hello, Jed.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, great to see you guys. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, no problem. Glad to have you here.
So I'm so excited that you guys invited me tonight, right? I said there was going to be a surprise. I kind of have two surprises, so stop me if you don't want me to go through with this one. But I'm going to set a world record of eating the most split jaws in 1 hour. So here we go. No.
We might need to put the disclaimer up. We do not recommend eating split jaw clams, although they're great for holding your track together.
Right. Yeah. It will hold something else up inside as well. But why don't you throw out my surprise that is being held together with split jaws tonight on camera 2 here. And yeah, so I set up a little train running here for you to enjoy in the background. Since we got a fresh 6 inches of snow and ice this yesterday and the day before, there's no way I was going outside to set up my trains tonight for you. So here you go.
Yeah. Why didn't you come up here and bring some in for me to run, Jed? I'm telling you.
Well, we can arrange that.
Hey, there's a good one for you. Digestive tract.
Digestive tract, right.
Thank you. Thank you, Canadian Railroads.
So, as we mentioned, we're excited to have you here as a guest. And so we always like to kick off the show by asking our guests how they got started in this hobby, this G-Scale hobby.
Well, it's probably a long story. Both of my grandfathers had Lionel trains, and I had a terrible picture. I showed it with Andrew, and he actually told me that one of the trains that was in the picture was American Flyer that was at my grandfather's house in Christmas of 1982. But the picture is so bad, I'm not going to even bother to put it up on here for you. But
Christmas 1982. I wasn't even a year old yet.
Yeah.
Now you're making me feel old.
But,
well, when I turned 40 last month, I figured I got to do something to make myself feel young again.
But my dad had an American Flyer set that I remember him getting down once or twice when I was growing up. Not very often, though. But what really got me started with G-Scale was down at the National Conservatory in Washington, D.C. I saw a Paul Bussey Garden Railroad at the conservatory, and it blew my mind. It was huge. It was amazing. Trains were everywhere, and it was great. My wife and I really enjoyed it. We talked about it for a long time, and didn't think about too much. And then maybe a year goes by, and in the fall, we saw a Columbus Dispatch newspaper article that the Columbus Garden Railway Society was having an open house, and people have these in their own backyard. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, we got to go on this tour. There's houses all around me here. So my wife and I had a fantastic time on the tour. And later that winter, we actually joined the club for a year. This was probably in 2004, 2005. But unfortunately, I was so busy at the time, I didn't go to any meetings, and it just didn't happen for about 10 years. And we moved into the house we're in now, and in the slideshow I have for you, it was a big empty backyard, and I was like, now's the time. So I joined with the club again, and I wish I got a little more advice before I put a shovel in the ground, but I'll go through that in my slideshow. But been on the garden tour now for 5 years, I think, and absolutely love the hobby and have a great time with the friends I've met in the club. And it's what can I say? It's just a great time. So here we are.
Right. So I've always, when I'm out and about at different shows or different places, and people who are familiar with our show, there's a lot of new people in G-Scale who come up to me and say, hey, can you do something, for the beginners and not just for those who are more experienced. And so
I'm your guy, because I've made every mistake.
And that's where I was getting at. And so for the beginners, they want to, I'm sure they don't want to go through what you went through. So what are some of the things you did that really turned out for the worse or didn't work, or, you just didn't know because you were winging it?
Well, how convenient you should bring this up. I recommend Split Jaw. No, seriously. Not only do they make a great product, it saves you a lot of time, a lot of money, and they're so easy to use. Take off those sliders that come in the box with your new track and just put on Split Jaws, put a little of the antioxidant grease in there. You're good probably forever. And it holds your track together, rock solid. And it's by far the best thing I've really come across. And no lie, just because they're your sponsor, I'm not trying to but they really are. That's a big one that I've learned. And I believe one of my other co-hosts is learning that lesson right now from one of my YouTube shows we did last year, right? Mr. DB, I will initialize your name there.
hey, I helped you guys troubleshoot that issue.
Yeah. But yeah, David's saying be careful. Jed also recommended sandpaper for my track. That's right. Yeah. I don't have that, but I was recommending very fine grit, which I would say if you're going like 2000 grit sandpaper, it's very, very close to a polishing cloth. But the 3M polishing cloth is another something you should have on hand if you're running track power, just because that does clean your track really well and doesn't put big grooves into it. But I can't say I've really had too much of a problem with other things. I've had LGB makes a sander. It's a red thing that has, you've seen them out there.
Yeah.
And I've been told, don't use those, but I've never had any real problems.
I've actually seen people take like an old broomstick and put like a Brillo pad on the end of them and clean them up that way.
Well, yeah, that's basically, it's like a pole sander.
Yeah.
And I would have brought mine in to show you, but it's out in the shed, and there's a lot of snow between me and that shed right now. I didn't bring in much tonight. So.
Oh, I see a comment in here, maybe aimed towards you, Jed.
Kent is our webmaster for the Columbus Garden Railway Society. And Wigwag, were you at our last meeting by chance? Or maybe it was your grandson was at the meeting. But yeah, we talked with them a little bit and look forward to helping him out wherever we can and getting his railroad together for sure.
Small world.
Yeah. Glad you're on here.
So what are the other things that you pretty much failed at?
Well, I was thinking too small, believe it or not. I went with 4-foot diameter corners, and I'm still paying for that a little bit. If you want to run anything bigger than like what's running down on my floor here, you really need to stretch out those corners. And right now, I recommend people setting up new railroads, go as big as you can. Don't limit yourself to small diameter corners.
Yeah. I agree. Go with the larger radius that you can. I mean, it's going to look better all the way around even.
Yeah, really even 6 or 8 foot should be your minimum, absolute minimum, if you can do it. I understand if you got a small little patio and you just want a little train, or if you got a train going around your Christmas tree, yeah, you need the 4-foot diameter corners. But outdoors, if you got the space, open it up. 10 foot, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree with Paul. Most things will run on 10 foot. I mean, I think like the USA Train Big Boy and a couple of things take something larger than that, but most stuff will do 10.
Yeah, most of them do 10.
Although it is worth noting that I believe just about anything LGB makes will actually run on 4-foot diameter.
They advertise that, yeah.
I know I've seen their Mikado. It may not look the prettiest, but I've seen their Mikado on 4-foot diameter because they have that special like kind of hinge joint in the middle. But that aside, go with the largest diameter you can fit on your layout.
Absolutely. If you want to run big diesel trains or the big boy, you need the biggest diameter you can get for sure.
And Joseph mentioned large diameter switches as well to go along with that.
Yeah.
See, David's going against what we're trying to teach here, Jed. You're going to have to correct him. We're trying to learn from your mistakes, not make the same ones.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, David.
Like this switch, that's a pretty small switch. That's for a 4-foot diameter. Yeah, I mean, if you're running small trains, it's fine, absolutely fine. You want to run the bigger switches you got to put in for sure.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, the MTH Big Boy will do 8-foot curves. So yeah, 8-10 foot minimum, somewhere in there. The larger you can go, the better.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll throw something in there too. If you can get one or have access to a rail bender, make your own curves. I mean, you can make them to fit whatever you're doing. I mean, I've used one to reform a couple of curves on mine. I've actually taken like 8-foot curves and stretched them out. Now the joints get kind of staggered, but it still works out. But
that's what a hacksaw is for.
This is true.
I would be careful with rail benders because you can get yourself in some trouble if you're a perfectionist and really are good with bending and tooling and manufacturing and know the process of getting all that stuff to bend right. Yeah, you're probably fine. If you've got no clue what you're doing, a rail bender can cost you some money too. I made the mistake. If the club remembers the first meeting I had at my house when I had my tiny little layout, some of the curves were getting a little Daytona banking in them, let's say, and that doesn't work. It really needs to be as flat as possible.
So the bender put you on a bender, did it?
Well, yeah, I screwed up a lot of stuff early on and probably made some turns that were sharper than 4-foot diameter too, and had problems with that. So
there's a good comment there about a dual rail bender and stainless steel. Because stainless steel has a lot of spring to it. You're going to end up having to actually kind of bend that past where it needs to go. And yeah, there can be a lot of fiddling around with that. Yeah. So I agree with your statement, Jed, that if you're really new at it, maybe don't play around with the rail bender, but
Yeah, I mean, it's probably most important to say is get something running. And Dave Bush is a great example. That first summer he joined the club, he was coming to all the meetings and wanted to be on the tour. And Dave just figured out a small little layout. It was probably in a 10 by 8, 10 by 12 area, small, but he got it running. He had a little pond, a little stream, had a bridge, had a siding, had everything you needed in a tiny layout. And it was super, super well detailed. And he got so many positive comments that got him, the next day he tore that out after the tour and started on his new layout. And Andrew, you saw his layout over the summer.
Yeah. I thought it was a beautiful layout. It's a very fine example of you don't have to have a humongous layout to have a very nice layout.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell he put a lot of time and effort into that, and it really paid off for him.
Yes, it has, and he's done a great job. Yep, Dave's layout is awesome for sure.
So, as you were building your layout outside, did you fall into any pitfalls during that build? Like, some people are in certain areas, they don't realize they got to build for frost heave, or they got to build for, maybe they need extra drainage where they're trying to put their layout at because, if it rains too much, it could wash away or anything like that.
Oh, well, for sure. one piece of advice I took was to raise my railroad up. I put it in a raised bed because the older you get, the less you want to bend over onto the ground to play with your trains.
I'm starting to understand that.
Yeah, wait a few more years, Andrew. You'll really understand it. But it's one of those things. Yeah, you don't want to build your railroad at the right next to your stream, because the stream will probably flood eventually and wash out your railroad. Take a look around your what you have going in your yard, and everybody can judge what's going on in their own backyards and figure it out. But it's always good to have some friends from a club come on over, talk it over with you, and just maybe roughly draw out a plan. Several people have started with one idea, and they're like, okay, I've got a meeting today at my house. Here's a blank piece of paper with the dimensions of my yard. What would you draw in for another layout? And friends have gotten great ideas of how to weave trains in and out of other places. And it just helps to get some advice. Everyone's yard is different. But I do have a slideshow with the progress, starting from day one through basically what I've got going now, if we want to pull that up.
Sure.
Yeah. Club members are great at spending your money. Yes.
Yeah. I'm the club member that likes spending people's money. You get the high of buying things without having to spend any of your own cash. It's amazing. Let's flip this around here. There we go. So what do we got here, Jed?
Well, this was taken this past fall. So my railroad, I had a theme in mind. Not everybody has to have a theme, but I saw a lot of people did have like an Old West theme with steam engines and kind of just like the Old West. And one thing I didn't see at all was kind of a European theme of European trains. And my family is from Germany, Bavaria, Munich area. And one of my favorite things to do is go to Oktoberfest. I'm a musician on the side, another hobby. And at Oktoberfest, I play one of those really long Alp horns, the Ricola, one of those big 12-foot long horns. And I love Oktoberfest. Yeah. And so I thought it'd be fun to theme my railroad somewhere between Munich, or I say somewhere between Bavaria and the Swiss Alps, where Oktoberfest is celebrated year round. So here's my railroad. Let's see if I can move it on here.
So since it's celebrated year round, that means we can come over at any time for brats and beer?
Yes, you can.
3 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Sure. So back in spring of 2016, when we moved into our house, I had this enormous, backyard, enormous for the city living, I guess. And this is eventually where my railroad ended up, is in this section. And I started really small, and actually I started way too small. And I started with a raised bed, put a tree in it. It's like, okay, well, I don't need anything too big. Just having one train go around, that'll be nice. And very shortly, people started saying, oh, you're going to want to go bigger. You're going to want to go bigger. It's like, so I had to start with something. And so I worked a lot of nights putting down these bricks, making a little bit raised, planted trees.
I think it's always a good move to start small and just build on to it a little bit each year. I see so many people get into that pitfall where they're trying to build this big, huge, elaborate railroad at one time, and then 3 years later, they're still trying to get something running.
Yeah, they get kind of burnt out. I mean, I do agree. You need to get to some point of just being able to run something in a decent amount of time, so you don't kind of lose interest in it. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. And, really the first year, this is the following winter, and I did have track down, and I was able to run a train around it from time to time. And looks like actually this is a little video. So it was very simple. Can't believe how small some of these trees are, but and
1 second, Jed, if you can hang
Sure.
on a second there. Where'd it go? I see Jonathan, the fish guy, with joining the chat. I just wanted to mention real quick, the live chat on Sean and my channel is set to subscribers only mode. And that's simply because we were having issues with spammers hopping into the chat and posting things that shouldn't be in there. So if you want to participate in the chat, I think the bare minimum it'll let you set it for is you have to wait a minute after you subscribe to the channel.
Correct.
And if you don't see that option pop up, just hit refresh to refresh the stream, and then you should be able to participate in the live chat. We do apologize that we have it set that way, but it was starting to become too much of a full-time job watching the chat and trying to make sure we remove things that shouldn't be there. So hopefully that helps anyone that's trying to figure out about getting into the chat. Sorry about that, Jed.
No worries. So I guess it started over again, but you get the idea. This got some track down, got it running. It's a mess right now, but it was running. It worked. Actually, this the very first year, I live on a kind of a busy through street, and excuse me, and I noticed that a lot of people on the sidewalk are walking by, and what's going on back there? So it was like, well, time to build a fence. So I became a carpenter and built myself a privacy fence just to keep prying eyes out, which was important. I thought, not that there's really ever been any problems. I've never had anyone wander in my backyard, but I just thought it'd be better safe than not having anything. So I finally got a train on the track. And another great reason to join the Columbus Garden Railway Society, the New York Central engine you see there is something I won as a door prize at the annual banquet we have in February. And it was a prize giveaway that Pico America had donated to the club to give away. And I had the golden ticket. I won. So that really forced me to get things going, because it's like, okay, I won this prize. Now the pressure's on my shoulders. Like, okay, I gotta get this going. So just behind the engine there, you can see where I put my brewery in. I have a Hacker Pschorr brewery. Hacker Pschorr is a real beer that was dates back to 1417 in Munich, and has been a part of every Oktoberfest, and is available in the United States. You just got to find the right import store that might stock it, but it's a good beer. And just a little teaser, we do have a giveaway later today. Maybe we'll talk about that later, just so you keep watching. So
hey, wait a minute. I thought you were going to wear lederhosen tonight, Jed. What happened?
It's too cold. Hey, give me 15 minutes. I can go put them on if you want, but no.
Nah, I was really just joking.
Paul Tori's got a
All right, Sean, you click it.
you were talking, so I'm trying to click it, and you're clicking at the same time. I didn't think you were paying attention, but yeah. So he says, and it's good that you had this picture showing up, that his suggestion for garden railroaders is to keep in mind of the full size of the plants and trees that you're picking out that will get at maturity.
Yes.
So that way you're not digging them up and moving them.
Yeah, well, I planned the tree in the middle is pretty much at full mature size. I hear right now. At least that's what I'm guessing. It's a purple plum
Yeah.
cherry tree or something, and it has the most beautiful blooms in the spring for about 2 days,
Yeah.
and it's got beautiful purple flowers, and it's a great accent, for my whole backyard.
I will say that we'll get 15 foot because I have one.
Yeah, it's getting pretty big, and it grows like a weed. It's probably because it gets plenty of water and lots of love. But it's a nice tree. It's a little bit of a pain, but not too bad. Not too bad at all. But I will say, over time, you'll see the brewery in several shots, and the background is going to change vastly. But that brewery has always stayed in the exact same location since I put it in. So you'll see as everything grows up around it, how things change. So here's another short video I have. I had to take the sound out of it because I have Polka Oktoberfest music playing in the background, and I didn't want you guys hit with a copyright infringement. But
that's just on Sean's channel. It'll be all right.
Oh, okay. Well, let me turn up the volume then. So I have a little bandstand there, and I have little musicians, and I put a small shower speaker in there, and it just sits up in the cone, and I hook it up to Amazon Music, or I should say a music service, and have 6 hours of polka music on it. That I didn't want to hear chicken dance every 15 minutes, so nothing wrong with polka. I just didn't want to hear the same polka over and over and over. So 6 hours of polka is stored. It's all good.
You want to poke yourself in the eye afterwards, I'm guessing. Right? Ooh.
Oh boy,
I'm going to put myself in the corner for that joke. I'll be back then.
So this was my very first open house tour, and I had more than just one visitor that showed up, but I had basic operation. I got things running, and I knew it would grow from here. And people that came in, just were very appreciative. Just, you just got to get started. You got to get one thing going here. You can't start out with the entire, layout is not going to be done all at once. So I did a lot of work to get this going for that first year, and went off very well.
So Paul Torrey's asking, so you running DC power outside?
Yep, just your standard DC power, and it works really well. It's so simple. You just put the train on and turn it on, and away it goes. You don't have a lot of control. I am now, after years in the hobby, I'm looking at going to battery power, and very popular on this channel to go with Rail Pro, and I'm taking everyone's advice and going to start converting trains, hopefully before too long, over to Rail Pro. So hopefully maybe you can get them as a sponsor.
Yeah, there we go.
So I just want to mention another great place to find stuff is online. This little beer garden house I found on Craigslist for $5, and it was new old stock. It was still in the box, never assembled. And the guy was telling me that he bought a big HO layout, or a collection of trains and things, and this one G-scale box was mixed in with it, and he wanted nothing to do with it. So he put it on Craigslist, and thank you. So there was my first where did you get the musicians for your band? I called the musicians union and hired union. Not buying it. Actually, I modified existing people. I found at one of the little big box hobby stores. It might rhyme with a word that starts with hobby with an L, but they have a lot of little charms that were either musical instrument charms, but they were pretty close to the right size. And I would just glue it to people. I glued trumpets to people and other instruments. You got to look around for musicians. They are very hard to find in G scale.
Now that you brought up this picture of the building, even picking buildings for your garden railway can be pretty crucial, depending on, if you're picking out wood, now you got the insects to contend with, and or critters, depending on where you live, that mice or snakes, lizards, whatever have you. So I'm assuming that everything you picked out is plastic, or
Pola kit, and I really like the old Pola stuff. If you can find it, you might have to repaint it because they stopped making those a long time ago, and they usually sit outdoors, but they are rock solid. I don't know what kind of resin they're made out of, but if they haven't taken abuse, if people bring them in the winter and maybe don't step on them and whatever, they hold up really well.
I agree. The walls on those buildings are fairly thick.
Yeah. And one other piece of beginner advice I was given was when you look at my brewery, that sat out on somebody's railroad in Columbus for 20 years. And they glued it together with silicone, just plain 100% silicone. And silicone, flexes, and the corners will move a little bit in the sun and everything. But it keeps, if it's glued rigid with airplane glue, let's call it, it's like fused. And boy, when it needs to move, it just warps or cracks or bends or whatever. But with the silicone, okay, you might have to put it back together every 5 to 6 years, but that's no big deal. The silicone, just you peel it off and you start over. It's very easy. So yeah, my whole brewery building, they're all very old, very, very old.
Oh, okay.
So I will explain the Oktoberfest tent. That does not stay outdoors year round. That's just made out of cloth. It's a Bavarian flag pattern cloth.
Looks nicely done, though.
Yeah, my mother is quite a seamstress sewer, and I had a pattern. I knew what had to do. I like taking things apart and putting them back together. But have you guys ever tried to thread a sewing machine before? Oh my Lord, up, down, around, backward, through. I could never figure it out. So, Mom, can you come help sew a tent for me? So it was a nice project we did together. And then I just set it up like a circus tent. And I got probably some other close-up pictures inside, but it's just filled with people drinking beer and having a good time.
It looks pretty good. I've been to an Oktoberfest that was being celebrated down in, I believe it was Epcot, where they had the LGB was sponsoring the G scale layout down there.
Yes,
and they had different countries, and they were celebrating an Oktoberfest at the time that I was visiting there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know they've done that, and yeah, of course, the LGB display at Epcot in the Germany pavilion is quite expensive. But it was another inspiration when I saw that outdoor layout. But once again, that was another really large layout that you just couldn't ever comprehend putting something like that in your backyard. It took going on the Columbus Garden Railway tour to see some smaller layouts in people's backyards that really, wow, I can do this. So there's a picture of my crocodile going through a tunnel, and I believe this is just before the 2018 tour. And unfortunately, in 2018, I had things nicely decorated. Things were growing in my layout, looking really good. And the days leading up to the 2018 tour, it was just pouring rain and just days and days of rain. So I ended up having to set up my railroad in my garage, and people were getting on me for, oh my God, you got a bigger layout in your garage than you got outside. Well, I worked on that after that, but so the day beforehand, I just saw it was going to be a mess, and I wasn't going to let anyone walk in my backyard and probably lose a shoe in the mud. And so I just set it up in my garage. People could walk up my driveway, take a look. And I think I was one of 2 or 3 railroads running that day. And it was best we could do for the conditions we had.
I mean, it's pretty inventive for, trying to put something on in a downpour.
Yeah, well, I was hoarding track at that time because I wanted to expand. So I had a whole bunch of tracks. I just threw it all out and said, okay, what can I create here?
Yeah. Because you mentioned the sharp curves, but even here, the curves look kind of sharpish. What did you use for curve size here?
Yeah, they're all 4 foot diameter for the most part. And I mean, I run small part like they do in Europe. A lot of trains are, smaller to be able to go up the twisty passes and whatnot. I like the older LGB stuff, and that's mostly what I have. You'll see there's a Bachmann train there pulling at the moment, but mostly I have LGB stuff. So this was probably right after the tour in 2018. So you're going to start to see this picture several times where I start to add on. And there's the next, the top run of the bricks there, that's level. My backyard slopes a little bit going downwards. So the bricks are level there. So I was just bringing everything up to grade, and kind of where there's a stack of bricks in the back there. I'm kind of circling it with the mouse. That's where the shed eventually ended up. And just gluing down bricks.
Are we like stuck halfway through a slide or something?
No, there's 2 pictures.
Oh, okay. I'm like I don't know if like my eyes are like giving me double vision or something here. Okay.
Now, some of the new people getting into the hobby don't realize that even landscaping is kind of expensive, and it also needs to be planned out.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's all about what you want. There's so many aspects. I always say it's, when you're out in the garden and planting and weeding and manicuring every little plant, it's probably 80% garden, and because you got to, get the hedge trimmers out and sometimes hack back those plants that are in the train right away and grow over. Things are always changing in a garden railroad. You mentioned earlier animals that run through. I had a heck of a time with groundhogs for a while. Oh my Lord. But hated them out of my county. But so did you use stone under the first run of wall? Yeah. Use gravel underneath the first run, which goes down maybe not below frost level, but everything's been out there for 3 to 4 years, and I've had no movement at all. Things are in really good shape. And even if there is a little bit of movement, you can just pry those bricks apart. I didn't cement them together. I just used, what do you call it? Just adhesive.
Oh,
You can pop them apart. They got lots of, if you try to just pop them apart that way, they come right up, but they don't slide apart, that way. The shear, they don't move that way. And I've had really good luck. Things have been in great shape. And because the way these bricks are, there are holes, so the water never builds up behind the backside. Water just flows right out of there without problem. And I lined the inside of the gravel as well, so it's been really good. I figure if it lasts 15, 20 years, by that point I'm going to be old enough that maybe I'll take it out by that point.
What should people consider about like drainage? I see some people talk about drainage, like they'll make a raised layout and then they'll have PVC piping underneath there with holes drilled into it, and so that the water disperses out from under their raised layout.
Yeah, every look at your own situation. If you've got a really tall wall, maybe 4 or 5 feet, yeah, you're going to need to move that water ways. Mine's only knee high, so 2.5 feet maybe. It never has behind that. Yeah, there's some, but I've had zero issues at this point. I've got more issues with the dirt settling. I built it 6 inches high, cresting over top, and it's already about an inch below it just keeps settling, and I packed it down. I don't know, it goes somewhere. So I figure in another year or so, I'm going to have to probably bring in another truckload of dirt and just kind of bring it back up the level. Hopefully that works. We'll find out. I don't know. There's always something to do in the garden. It's never finished. It's a continuous process. There's always something you're working on.
Right. It's constant maintenance. So people have to realize that every year they're doing something to it to maintain it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And if you like playing in your backyard, this is the perfect hobby because there's always something. So, yeah, I've heard of that city enough area that I don't get deer into my yard, but I have heard of deer stepping on the track and can definitely damage your track. And once you get a track that's bent from a hoof print put into it, you might as well just replace it with new track. It's kind of hard to get a dip out of it, so when the train goes over it just doesn't derail.
I'm sure it depends on where you live at. Depends on what kind of animal problems you get. Some people I'm sure in the South would have problems with lizards and snakes, digging stuff up. And here we have deer and turkeys that love to, get into everything. So
yeah, I mean, I know people that live far enough out in the country that a lot of the pesky animals come down with a case of lead poisoning. So, you got to do what you got to do to ward off the animals. So
I believe you said you had a groundhog that took up residence on your layout, right?
Yeah, you see the back porch of my neighbor. It took up residence underneath there, but would come over to my yard to wreak havoc in my garden railroad. Was too inviting. It took a year and a half to trap that fat little thing, but we finally got it.
He was probably fat from all the brats and beer,
That's where it all went.
Yeah, the Infinity Hobbies channel brings up a good point. Bees. I mean, that's another factor. Bees building, nests in a house, and especially if you have like a water source, a pond, that draws even more insects and critters if you have a pond, correct?
Oh, yeah. Stuff to consider. Squirrels, absolutely. Juvenile, yes, exactly, Zachary, exactly.
I thought the squirrels were citizens of Rigginsville. I guess not.
Yeah, actually, I've got a lot of squirrels, but they're the least of my problems around here. They bury a lot of nuts, but I got a problem with rabbits as well. That soft dirt, very inviting. So there was that big dump truck full of dirt, and unfortunately, I had to into the backyard. Was what it was. I wore out a wheelbarrow.
I say.
And so I filled that all up, and then did the same thing with the crushed gravel for the shed.
I've heard of this, using stone dust to build up the beds instead of dirt.
Yeah,
Drains a lot better.
Yeah, actually, I use number 9 gravel for my ballast, and there's people have lots of ways to keeping it from sinking, working its way down, and you always got to refresh it. The stone dust can definitely help. I don't know how well flowers and things take to stone dust. A true garden with railroads running through it. So I went with topsoil on top of my gravel. So you can see the base there has come into play where I wanted to put my shed. Now, let's talk about sheds real quick. During that winter when I was waiting for my shed to be built, I had some free. I made a little diagram, and I know it's going to be kind of hard to see here. Let's see.
Let's see if we can. Oh, nope. Wrong view. Let's try this this way. There we go.
Here is my new garden railroad, and I was kind of sketching out some ideas of how I wanted everything to go, and I just per square, and I knew I wanted viaduct, so I put a viaduct in there, and you can see where the tree is right here, kind of, and over here is where the shed was. So from there, I knew what my footprint was, and I was, I wanted something really big, and big enough area I could put a bench here and sit out and watch the trains go around. So I built it as close as I could to scale, and it was just kind of fun things through the winter, dreaming of all that. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, that's a nice and nice and expensive, but it was very nice.
I was looking at your drawing there, and I've seen your railroad before. Do you have a loop going back behind your shed? Is that what I saw in your drawing?
Well, that was...
Oh, we're getting there? Okay.
Yeah, we're getting there. That was the plan. I was going to run the train through the shed, around back through the shed, and out onto the track, and just have it so I could park it inside very easily when I was done at night and didn't have to load it. So after I did this, I went to pull a permit with the city, and they're like, yeah, so you're 8 feet off the property line, right? I was like, nowhere on the website did it say I had to be 8 feet off the property line. I guessed, and I committed myself to 6 feet off the property line, and that's where I brought the electric up. And they're like, oh, well, you're not gonna, can't do that. It's just one thing after another. It's like,
I guess that is a good point, though, when you're going to be constructing a garden railroad, is to
find out
zoning varies
for sure.
Yeah.
So I wanted that big shed, but what I got was my little 10 by 10 shed, much smaller. You can build a 10 by 10 shed with no restrictions. You could be right on the property line. So I went with the nicest 10 by 10 shed you could build and very tall. I'm over 6 foot tall, and I didn't want to be walking into the rafters inside like some friends, that I have. And so your town ordinances before building a shed. I thought I did my homework by researching on the town website, gave all sorts of it. And yeah, I probably could have gone with a variance, but I wanted to move forward, and
That's understandable.
I wanted to get it done. And the cost of a 10 by 10 shed was a whole lot cheaper than the let's see, what was this size? 14 by 10 with a 6-foot overhang. It was half the price, and it's like, oh yeah, I live with my wife here, so
I have to
that's
say,
another consideration. She's very supportive of my hobby, but the bank account only has so much money in it. So
I have to say, I appreciate the fact you actually built models of the shed and that when you were trying to figure that out. A lot of people don't go that far.
yeah, it was really fun. I mean, they were easy little projects to make. Each square was 1 foot, and you just build it for there. It was kind of fun. I have a 3-track stub yard in my shed using a doggy door. Yes, I see a lot of folks using it as a staging yard, and doggy doors are very popular. I was going to do something very similar to that. Once you kind of see everything else, with the 10 by 10, I still had plans to have it run through, but it's a little narrow. There was some, the window I put in is a little bigger, and then the corner was there. So it didn't leave a whole lot of space to drive a train through the studs. And I didn't want to go reconstructing everything around that. So I'm fine with everything is the way it is right now. Do you have or planning on live stream?
Steam.
Oh, Steam. Yeah, read, Jed. No, not right now. I do have some live Steam toys. I have a little car and a little model car, and is a Jensen motor, kind of a power plant, just for fun. But I don't have any Steam right now.
Although Jed did have a live stream as well that focused on a lot of the stuff that we're talking about tonight. If you check out in the show description for the Columbus Garden Railway Society YouTube channel, you can actually find the past streams that Jed did. Lots of good info in those. I just wanted to point that out since you happened to mention it before I forgot.
Yeah, we had a show called Workbench Wednesdays that we did, kind of like what you guys do every other week. It was on Wednesday nights. Had David Bush and Bill Logan as co-hosts. Bill's been in the hobby for a very long time, runs several commercial displays, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. And I mean, long about garden railroading topics, and you just give him a topic and set them loose. So it was a fun show. They were a lot of work, as you guys know, putting these shows together. It just doesn't happen. They're a lot of work to piece these together. And we just got other things going on. We decided, we just couldn't do the live. Opened up again, we could go places, so we decided to shut it down. But the Columbus Garden Railway Society does have a YouTube channel that I run, and boy, do we need subscribers. As anyone who runs a YouTube channel knows, that subscribers open up things to you, and
Yes.
we have not hit that right algorithm yet. I put out maybe one video a month, kind of a what the club's doing, where we maybe a club location we're at. But if you want to see some Garden Railroad stuff, subscribe to the channel. It's free and easy.
I'm gonna drop the link to that actually in the live chat if anyone wants to.
Perfect. Appreciate that
as well.
You want to pull back up the
Absolutely
the slideshow? We'll plow through the rest of this.
See if we can get this sorted out. There we go.
here is the construction of my 10 by 10 shed. I had 4 Amish guys come out, and they put this up in about 3 hours. And boy, did they work fast. And boom, they're just about done. So,
and that's not even sped up, right? That's how fast they work.
No, this is real time. Yeah. But unpainted, that's another thing. If you're not good with ladders, maybe pay that extra $100 or $200 for them to pre-paint all the pieces. Because yeah, I'm not good with ladders, and yeah, I had to paint all that by myself. I got it done, but it wasn't my most favorite thing. I would have gladly have paid them to paint it while I was on the shop floor. It was about 50% pre-assembled at their factory over in Amish country, and they brought it in on a truck and then carried all the pieces back and brought it all up.
Wow, that was kind of loud with my earbuds in.
So sorry.
Yeah, that just sounded creepy.
So there it is, and I put the 3 windows in the front there, so I got my main workbench there, so I can run trains and watch over the railroad and work.
That's a nice looking shed, actually.
It is, yeah. I agree with that. It looks good.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I spent the extra money, got the extra headroom. It's got a 6'5" door, so it's nice and tall. And then you go inside, you don't even think about hitting your head on anything. It's a little small, but it's fine. It's fine. One of the next projects I had was creating the viaduct, and I used that pink foam that's insulation and carved it and painted it and then glued it to like the plastic ladder rail system that people use as underlayment to put your track on. So this is while I'm kind of gluing it all together just to get an idea. And oh yes, I wanted to have a cog railroad. So here's another mistake I made. This cog railroad is on a 4-foot diameter, goes up in very short area. Now it pushes cars up there with hook and loop. I don't use KDs, hook and loop. It pushes it up, no problem. And that little cog train is actually powerful and heavy enough. It doesn't need the. So I wanted to have a Swiss cog train on there that uses the cog, and it works great. But I would have made that now. If I had to do it again today, it would be a 6-foot diameter.
You need some yodelers that sing while it's climbing the grade going up around.
Oh, I do that, but that usually we want to keep your viewers watching. But not tonight. So now the people at the beer garden can enjoy a beer and watch a train go over the viaduct.
I see very little people.
Wow, that's a great looking scene.
Yeah, I see very little people using a cog train, so that's pretty interesting. I mean, I've seen one being used at the East Coast Large Scale Train Show by a couple different clubs, but it's not something you see that often.
No, not very often. At Disney, Epcot has a cog railroad in it.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it needs it, but they have it there. And it does kind of go up straight, a pretty steep grade. But, yep. So there's just another picture. Now, I'm that grade. But it's just for a picture. It's a photo shoot. So you can start to see some of the plants are growing in. I have a lot of stone crop sedum And that stuff, once you get it started after the first year, it takes off like wildfire. And pretty much the month of June into July has beautiful kind of pinkish, purplish flowers. Now they grow like crazy, and it grows over the track. So I use hedge trimmers, power hedge trimmers, and just saw it all back. And it does create a nice tunnel. And when it's trimmed up nice, it looks great. And you have to do that about once a week to really get the little hangers that grow in. But I mean, you can watch that plant grow. It grows very quickly.
Yeah, and speaking of plants, you could almost have a show about plants in itself. I mean, because some people, aren't sure what plants they should pick and what grows fast, what grows slow, what's good for their area. So, I mean, there could be a show, and it's just picking out what plants should you choose.
Yeah, and it's very regional too. Of course, what you grow here in Ohio is not going to work down in the desert in Phoenix, Phoenix, Arizona. You really have to go to your local nursery. Sometimes you find someone at the nursery that really knows smaller plants, and if you tell them what you're doing, they're like excited to help you. There is a place in northern Ohio, Mulberry Creek Nursery, and they grow and make miniature plants, a lot of miniature plants. That's their whole business. And they actually have a garden railroad that they plant with their plants to demonstrate what it's going to look like in a few years, because you buy this little plant and it looks so innocent, and you put it in the ground, you put a little water on it, and a year later, it takes over your whole railroad. And okay, maybe you want some of that to fill an area in, but sometimes you just want something to stay one little small size. And
right.
So it's very important to take a look at. You're going to spend money on plants. You're going to spend money on trees. It's all part of the hobby. And it's cheaper than therapy. What I got to say? Well, maybe it's cheaper than therapy. I don't know. But it's a great hobby. You're going to love it. And it's frustrating at times too, but it's all part of it. It's all part of it.
Oh yeah.
So this is the station at the top of the mountain. Some lights on.
That's a nice scene too.
Okay, so for the open house tours, I bring in live music. These are some of my Alphorn friends. And they kind of play as people are viewing the Garden Railroad. So this was 2 years ago, or at the 2020 open house.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, talk about taking all the stops out, Jed.
So, but I also have the Oktoberfest music playing. So, I'm a musician. I want to hear music. I want to bring the whole thing to life. That's why I spent some money this winter in my cog train. I put a sound card in there, and when it takes off from the station, it has an announcement sound, boom, bum, bum.
Oh, okay.
And it comes on and it takes off, and
nice.
It's beautiful. I will tell you, there is a new G-Scale store in town. He's over in the Dayton, Ohio area, actually in Fairborn. What's it called? Mostly gscale.com. And he bought a very, very large collection of G-Scale equipment and has gone into business being a retailer and selling stuff. He already had a business doing electronics in trains. His name is Gene, and he's president of the what's the name of their Garden Railroad Club in Dayton? It's
the Miami Valley.
Miami Valley. Thank you. Yeah, Miami Valley Garden Railroad. And he's the president. And boy, he did a fantastic job on my cog train, and I'm super happy with it. I haven't gotten to run it yet on the railroad, but I've tested it out in my basement. At least got to see what it sounds like. But if you're looking for G scale stuff, he has and he's got a whole nother trailer that he hasn't opened up yet. He hasn't had time to inventory it. He's just has tons. So mostly gscale.com if you want to go looking for that. What instrument do I play? Beyond the Alphorn, I went to school music performance on French horn. And I played professionally for years and years, orchestras, whatever I could make a few bucks playing with. And about 10 years ago, I kind of finally woke up. I've been at a job. Oh, we didn't mention what my day job was.
Oh,
Counter for real. I'm a real life rivet counter. I work for a company that sells pop rivets and fasteners, mostly to the automotive and heavy truck industry. And I was trying to balance working at that job, which I do all the purchasing and quality control work for them, and at night playing my horn. And man, I was running myself ragged doing both things. And I finally was like, man, they just want to pay me more and more money to go count rivets all day. Why am I fussing, practicing my French horn for hours and hours to go play $100 job over in East Timbuktu? It just didn't make financial sense. So I retired from horn playing, professionally, actively. And, I wanted to do other things like garden railroading. It was something I wanted to do, and I'm not getting any younger. So there's other hobbies I wanted to get into. So I still have a French horn, and I do get occasionally asked to play when someone's really desperate for a French horn player at this point. But pretty much I just play Oktoberfest on my Alphorn and have a lot of fun with that.
Maybe you can help me with this one, Jed. I'm sitting here looking at Slagcat's comment here, and he's asking me what garden railroad is in Cincinnati.
That's the Greater Cincinnati Garden Railway Society.
Okay, yeah, they have their layout, their club layout's actually outside of Entertainment Junction, yes. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to.
I don't know why my brain was skipping on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what a great place to have a clubhouse at Entertainment Junction. All that. But no, they've got a great club down there, and if you ever get a chance, they do a 2-day open house tour. I think they split it like northern and southern tour days, but the locations they're fantastic layouts down there. I can't speak highly enough about them. Highly recommend. Check it out.
Honestly, the tours that Cincinnati does and the tours that Columbus do are both phenomenal. I mean, Cincinnati, if you work your time right, you can see all the layouts. Columbus, there's no way you can see all in the same day. There's just you have plenty to choose from. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we have briefly talked about going to a 2-day format because we realize there are so many layouts. There's just no way. And when you're hosting, you can't go see other folks' layouts. So we'll figure it out. We might do it. If we have another, what do we have? 22 or 23 layouts this year on our tour.
Yeah, I think I saw like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I like the 2-day format when Cincinnati does it because it gives me an excuse to go take a 2-day weekend and get a hotel room.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and Cincinnati's a fun place to hang out. So the continuing through my slides here, top and bottom are kind of before and after. I put in, this was my COVID project, and it's that chicken wire as the base. It's not chicken wire. It is actually, there is a name for it. I can't think of it right now, but it's thicker. It's thicker, and actually it's a little more of a pain in the neck to work with, but it's a little more solid. And so I kind of roughly shaped the mountains out of this metal mesh. It's like 1/4-inch mesh screen almost, but it's very heavy duty. And then I covered that with burlap, and then put stucco and concrete in areas and just built it up. It is hollow in the middle, which I've come to learn is a safe haven for certain animals that like to move in. But
A safe haven, huh?
yeah. But that's roughly in a nutshell. You'd really have to come over, and I'd be happy to show anyone who wanted to come over and take a look at it in person before they attempted it themselves. But it wasn't terrible. You just jump in and hope you like to mix bags and bags and bags and bags of concrete.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Do you have any snake issues where you're at?
No, I wish I had a gardener snake, because that would probably take care of some of the little rodents that like to move in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Junior mesh is what Cody's saying it's called. Does that sound right?
Junior mesh. That's not the name of this. You can buy this at Home Depot, and it comes in like a 20-foot roll by 4 foot high or 6 foot high. Boy, it's just slipping my mind what it's called. Sorry. I'll think of it tomorrow. But I said, after seeing Splitjaw, oh, very good. Splitjaws. This episode is brought to you by Splitjaw. Use them. Anyways, so before and after pictures. As I was making one of my mountains, it kind of formed this little overhang area where I could put you can see the little hiker kind of on the right side of the picture, and this little ledge formed there naturally. And so suddenly I'm having all these ideas. Oh, I could make a scenic overview. So that's what I did. Made out of redwood and spar varnish the heck out of it so it holds up, and glued it in. It's held its place. It's out there right now. I don't bring that part in, and it overlooks the brewery and the railroad.
Very nice.
So, I think this is another video here. So get a little view of my crocodile. Oh, that's right. I double-headed this one with another Swiss train.
What is it that you have grown along the tracks there, Jed? Is that anything special?
Yeah, that is the stone crop sedum that I was telling you about, that grows like crazy, that has that purple flower in the early summer.
Okay.
This is taken probably in the fall, so the flowers have died off, and this was probably all taken before I actually planted some of the mums I put in before the fall tour, because I like to pop some more color into it for the tour itself. Okay, so that foam viaduct was a nice idea for a couple of years, but it really wasn't holding up. So I saw an article about making your own concrete forms and pouring concrete viaducts. It's in a publication I'll tell everybody about here in a second. But this article was a guy down in Cincinnati, in the Greater Cincinnati Garden Railway Society, made this like an 80-foot long viaduct. It's huge, and it's like, well, 14 or 15 feet, somewhere around that length. And that was long enough for me. This was turned into a project of 13 bags of 80-pound concrete bags.
Wow.
And mixed it by hand one day. Well, that was another day of work. But when you take off the forms, you can see I used more of that pink foam insulation to kind of fill the void, and I knocked it out on the one side. And I'm very happy with the way it came out.
Here's an interesting question, Jed, and I really don't think there's a specific answer to it, but Split Rock was asking why garden railway clubs are called societies. Now, I see some are societies, some are clubs. Was there any reason why you guys chose to go with society instead of club?
We'd have to go back and ask the original member why he did that. I think he was kind of basing it after the Denver Railway Society.
Denver Garden Railway Society?
Yeah. They were one of the few that had it going in the 90s. And I don't know if that's because we were closely associated with LGB in the 90s when LGB was pretty much the big game in town at that time, maybe the only game in town. And maybe they had some say in societies. I don't know.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
It seemed like an interesting question. I never really thought about it before.
Yeah. No, I don't know. But our club is very loosely put together with volunteers. There's no board of directors in our club. And if you show up to a board meeting, you're on the board. Everybody leaves, you're off the board. It's a good way to, if you want to get involved, you just raise your hand, and man, they'll Ken, our webmaster, simply raised his hand and said, "Does the webmaster need any help with the website?" And a day later, woof, he's got the whole website. He's the new webmaster.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. You raise your hand, and so here's kind of roughly my viaduct is complete here. It's 6 inches wide, and from the top to the very bottom is 2 foot.
Wow, that came out nice.
And only about a foot of it is above ground. So, and I can walk across it like a balance beam if I want to. So
you didn't take a video of that? I was kidding.
As a matter of fact, I did. So, as you will see, the cog train goes up without a problem. The concrete supports this, 4-ton train locomotive. I don't know. It doesn't even bend, look how strong that is.
Ooh, I don't know if I want to join that society, the Dakman Productions Society. Yeah, that came out really nice, Jed.
So I've got built in another mountain that I'm going to create a series of mountains along here. So my one corkscrew, I call it Corkscrew Mountain, isn't all by itself. I want to hide it with other mountain ranges. And unfortunately, I just ran out of warm weather to work in it. It got cold after this pretty quick. So, did you put rebar? Yes, I did. I put in rebar going down and across the best I could. It's probably not perfect, but if it doesn't really need to support weight, it just needs to stay together. So that was my goal. I actually used some of that. Can't think of the name of it. Use some of that mesh as rebar inside just to kind of hold it all together. But I also used what 1/4 inch rebar or 3/8. It was pretty thick. I had some 8-foot pieces that I drove all the way down and then stretched them across, tied them together. Did the best I could. We'll see what happens. I'm learning as we go. And that was it. So,
Oh, there he is.
Wrong button.
So there we go.
We'll remove that and not Jed. We want to keep Jed.
Yeah.
Ken Hoffman's saying hardware cloth. Is that what you're
That's
thinking
the
of?
name of it. Yes, hardware cloth. Ooh, let me flip on the trains. There we go.
So let me ask you this, Jed, because I'm sure this is a decision that many other garden railway people ponder sometimes, is to have a pond or not have a pond. What are your thoughts on that?
Should we ponder that?
If you have a pond, yeah, keep it. Don't fill it in. Actually, our very last, the January meeting, we had a kind of panel discussion about ponds. And before you even open up that subject, I had everyone say, okay, who wants to build a pond this year? And then there's a few hands. It's like, who wants to learn how to keep maintaining your pond? And there's a lot of hands that went up for that. And then how many people want to fill their pond in because they're done with it? And there was 1 or 2 hands with that. So ponds are a whole nother subject. And actually in Columbus, I learned there is a Columbus Pond Society where people go to meetings at other people's houses that have garden ponds.
Oh.
And 7 or 8 years ago, we had a joint meeting with them years ago. But boy, that's just a deep subject I don't want to get into. Yeah, if you want a pond, then go ahead and experiment with it. But they're a lot of work.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
I know a couple people that have small ponds on theirs, and especially if you want to have fish in them, that's a whole different avenue.
Yeah, it's a whole nother show you're talking about there. Whole nother show. What scale are you doing with your building and people?
I'm assuming that since you're mostly LGB stuff, you're probably 124 is the scale you're with.
Yeah, for the most part, LGB I think is 122.3 to 1.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
So it's a little bigger than 1:24, but 1:24 works fine. It's in our club. Here's another very important rule. This is if you're going to get started with a garden railway or railroad this year, just remember the Columbus Garden Railroad has one rule, the 10-foot rule. If it looks good from 10 feet, it's good enough.
I don't know if I can get 10 foot from the camera to make myself look better. Is this far enough?
Yeah. There. Oh. Keep going.
Keep going. I don't want to get back up for it.
But it's so important. Remember that with garden railroading, I see so many ideas. There are those folks that want to just have the perfect, everything is perfect. Doug, I think it's 1:22.3, not 1:20. I know Mr. Doug here likes to correct me wherever possible, but Doug, I'm pretty sure it's 1:22.3 to 1.
Yeah,
someone back me up here. Someone back me up.
Yeah, well, because 120.3 is actually F scale, not G scale.
F scale, yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it too, with a lot of the LGB stuff, it kind of fluctuates a little bit. I know. I mean,
it does.
Everything's kind of to get things to kind of work the way that they want it to work. Things get a little bit fudged in different areas. I mean, nothing's an exact science, but it's
no.
still
And the
good
next
looking
time
product.
it rains on your railroad, it's going to be something different anyways. Your railroad is growing, it's changing. Mr. Clark is quite emphatic. I'm gonna someone back me up here. But
no, I mean, and the thing is though, in G, I mean, we know it encompasses everything from 122, 120 to 132nd scale. I mean, so
Slide Cat's got it. It's 122.5.
120. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I still think it's 122.3, 1 to 22.3. Yeah. And we don't have to argue about it. It's somewhere close around there, and 0.2 or 0.3, whatever, it doesn't matter.
That's one of those areas of the G hobby that can turn into a whole thing, is debating.
Oh yeah, the scale sizes,
the scales, because it's all over the board between the manufacturers. So
that's the most common number one thing I see people go back and forth over is the different scale ratios alone. And some people will mix them up, and some people stick with just one certain scale.
Yeah.
And nothing is really wrong. I mean, it's your garden railroad. You build it how you want and run what you want. And
that's the thing. At the end of the day, is run what you like and what makes you happy.
Yeah, if it looks good from 10 feet, it's good enough. Yeah, exactly. It's important just to get out there. Yes, exactly. What makes you happy? Exactly. And I find the small B trains do it for me. That I'm very happy with those. The biggest train I have is a crocodile, and well,
that's a croc. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, I've had too many bad jokes tonight. I got to stop.
But we wanted to talk about the benefits of joining a club, and I made a short list of a couple of things that came to mind, and you join a club and you're instantly got a whole bunch of new friends, because we're all in this together. We're all figuring it out. Everybody has their own ideas, what they want to build for a railroad. And it's just a bunch of like-minded people all having fun. And that's what it's all about. The Columbus Garden Railway Society is very active. We have over 100 families that are members in the club. And it's very busy. There's a lot of newer, younger folks that are joining, which is great. My wife and I jokingly, thought when we joined the club, we were going to be the youngest people in the club. Well, no, not quite. I mean, we still bring the average age down a little bit, but there's lots of people getting involved in the club and lots of people building railroads. So join a club, get involved, just show up to the meetings, just raise your hand, say, hey, I'd like to learn more. And boy, you'll get all sorts of help. The Columbus Garden Railway Society also has our banquet in February. It's at the end of this month. And yeah, there we go. The cgrs.org. A couple of the buildings in the background, the church is going to be in the banquet raffle. And that little red and green building with the mustard colored trim, that's a fruit stand, and that's going to be in. And then the guy at the Stein here in the foreground, that's going to be in. There's a little station. Actually, there's two stations. They're both kind of cut off there on the left side, but both of those will be giveaway door prizes. And it's a great way to get started with winning a few prizes. Doug, who has been chiming in here, is managing all of that for the club for this year, because he raised his hand and said, I will manage the banquet drawing. So he's been calling vendors, and he's working on just trying to find donations for the club. And if you would like to donate something to the banquet, contact Doug or contact me through the club. We'll happily take stuff in. But we have monthly meetings. Late spring, usually around April, we start meeting at people's houses. A lot of times we go to new houses that we've never seen railroads at before, so those are always a lot of fun. And we usually try to have some sort of a clinic at every meeting just to discuss, like last month we discussed ponds, just to talk about something, just open the subject. So there are lots of, let's remember the fall tour. The Columbus Garden Railway fall tour this year is always the Sunday after Labor Day. So this year it's Sunday, September 11th. And it's open from like 5 o'clock, I think, are the hours. And, watch our website. All the details of how to go on the tour will be on our website. And I'm sure we'll, try to get involved with you guys to publicize it on your show. And we'll, there it is. And, hopefully maybe another 20 or so layouts. Maybe we'll go to 2 days. We'll find out. And it is rain or shine. Now, if it's monsoon, that's another story. But we try to run no matter what. It might be, if the weather's really bad, then we got to.
I was going to scroll down here. I know this is from 2021, but just to give people an idea of, there's quite a few layouts that end up being put on the tour. I mean, hey, I think I know this layout, the Hacker Express Railroad.
Hey, that's it.
Tons of wonderful layouts on this tour every year, and like I said, it's really not possible to see them all in one visit.
Now, sadly, the Kimmels who live about a half a mile up the road from me, they are sadly selling their house, closing down their railroad for good. Their new house does not have a backyard big enough to build a railroad, which I don't know what he's going to do. He's been on the tour for 20 plus years, I believe. And that they have just a wonderful railroad. Andrew, we took you up there over the summer when you were here.
I remember seeing their layout quite a few several years back. I came down the first time I came down for the tour when you guys, not the first time you guys had the tour, the first time I ever came down for it. Yep. But yeah, what 20? I think the numbering got messed up there, maybe. So what, 22?
22, I guess.
22 layouts on the tour. I mean,
that's plenty.
Yeah, I agree.
Now I'm lucky because there are 5 or 6 that were within 2 or 3 miles of my house. So a lot of people saw a big cluster of them and would go, "Oh, well, I'll just hit all of those since they're all real close." But when you live out in the country, some of those folks have some very large, expansive layouts that are enormous layouts.
Well, that's what I did the first year that I came down. Is I did exactly what you said. I looked at the map and I said, "Well, there's a whole mess of them right here. I'm going to go there." And I think I probably saw about 7 or 8 layouts when I came down that year. And then the next year, I decided I wanted to try and hit the some of the outlying ones. And I think I saw 3 that year. And I mean, they're like way out on the outskirts around Columbus. You definitely have a selection of layouts when you get on for one of the tours.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it doesn't cost you any, well, other than your gas to drive, but there's no admission to go on the tour. I mean,
nope, none at all. Show
up and enjoy yourself.
Exactly. That's all we ask.
and respect the owner's homes and layouts, obviously.
Yeah. But
I
don't think there's ever been a problem, though.
I mean, I ran over that fertilizer spreader in David's driveway, but he had that out for free anyhow.
I remember that. Yeah. Oh, well. So I mentioned the Oktoberfest theme at my railroad and the beer theme, the Hacker Pschorr. Hacker Pschorr beer is a main theme of my railroad, and there was a brewery started in 1417, and then I'm not sure when the Pschorr brewery started, but they were joined together in the 1800s by marriage, and so the guy, it was the couple, put this brewery together. It's become, a very popular beer in Germany. And, my family's from Munich. I can't exactly get an exact family lineage to the beer family, but we're all from the same town with the same last name. It's got to be there somewhere. But anyways, I collect quite a few beer mugs and things. And for a giveaway, I was going to give away this handsome beer mug. And I know you have a method for giving prizes away, but it is a ceramic half-liter. I use it as a coffee mug in the morning, and it holds plenty of coffee. So I will ship it to anywhere in the lower 48 states, and you have to be over 18. And well, if you're somewhere here in Columbus, bring it back. I'll fill it up with a beer, and we'll sit down and watch my trains this summer.
Well, if you're going to fill it with beer, they're going to be at least 21.
Yeah, well,
sorry to disappoint.
Goes without saying.
So let's do this. We will do, if you'd like to enter to win the mug that Jed's given away there, just do #hacker in the chat, and that will enter you into the drawing for it. It looks like
Split Jaw.
Yeah, it looks like Wigwag's bringing the beer, Jed.
I'll bring the beer. Perfect. Actually, I have Hacker Pschorr beer. That's about all the distributors around here know who I am, because I'm the only guy who seems to buy the Hacker Pschorr beer. But that's not true. I do have other friends who buy it from time to time. But they know as soon as I walk in, they're like, "No, we don't have any today." It's like, okay, well, just order it. I'll come back tomorrow or whatever. But #hacker will win you this handsome half-liter mug. Come back and enjoy a beer with me.
Yeah.
Does that come with free brats too?
I knew that was coming. He's been trying on those brats for a while now.
I could put a frozen one in there and hope it gets there somewhat edible. I don't know.
Guys, when you put in hacker, it's gotta be #hacker as you see it on the screen, or else the automatic computer won't pick it up.
Yeah, no space. So #hacker all together. The giveaway tool that we use for this, that's how it registers that you've entered for it for the drawing.
All right, so Timothy Kennard, you got to re-enter. Jerry, you got to re-enter as well, because you forgot to put the hashtag on it. There you go, Jerry. You got it.
Yeah. If you have the beer, I'll bring some brats shipping for. Oh, nice. Wigwag Workshop. Absolutely.
I knew I liked Wigwag Workshop for some reason.
Yeah, I like this guy.
I'll bring the brats. All right.
Oh, there was something I was going to ask you, Jed, and I'm trying to remember what the heck it was now. On the concrete you poured for like the mountain stuff on your layout.
Yeah.
Did you do like a wash on that or anything to get the color on that? Or
oh yeah, that's necessary. Concrete looks really ugly raw on the mountains, so I water down usually just whatever colors I have laying around, black, gray, green, and kind of get a color that I'm happy with, and water it down so it's very runny. And then, sorry, I hit the microphone.
Oh, it wasn't quite as loud that time.
Okay, thank you. And then I let it run down into the nooks and crannies, and you just dab it around until you're happy with it with a paintbrush, and let that dry. And then I usually highlight it with what they call kind of a dry brush technique, where you just take a little bit of white paint or a lighter color paint, and you just kind of skim the high spots in some parts, and it just pops some of the stonework out. But there are 1,000 YouTube videos on how to paint garden or how to paint mountains for your indoor railroad. And most of that works very well for your outdoor railroad. You just got to use the right kind of paint. I use acrylics that are UV safe. If it's out in the sun, it's going to take a beating, and you're going to have to repaint it every year. And it's kind of fun to repaint. I have, I don't mind repainting it from time to time. And, if you're not happy with it, wait a couple of days for it to dry and then paint it over.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Just puts another layer on there.
Just let everyone know we'll let this run for another couple of minutes if you want to put your #hacker in to win the mug, just in case anyone's wondering. So I saw there was a question in there asking if there was a winner yet. Jed doing his best Vanna White that he can. Oh, I see Doug entered. If he wins, you'll have a short delivery trip, Jed.
Nice. Yeah, we've had a few hacker shores together, no doubt. Even if he does think LGB is 20.3 to 1. Where did this guy come from?
You've been to the show that they do at Entertainment, the swap meet before, correct?
It's a great show, and it's all G scale. It's only 4 hours, like 10 to 2. I did bring a few things to sell at it was about a year ago in March. I guess I took down a table worth of stuff I was trying to sell, and I didn't have any luck selling stuff. But a lot of people did. A lot of people took my money. So a lot of good used stuff, and it's a good show. And plus you can go for a walk around Entertainment Junction. It's a 2-for-1 for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. It's been several years since I've been inside Entertainment Junction. Mm-hmm. I was actually physically there last year, but I stopped to see a friend that was working on the club layout that was outside.
Yeah.
I didn't venture inside because my wife was giving me that look that said, if we don't start on our way home soon, no one's going to find you. So I thought I'll save it for another day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, we went, there was a small group of us that went down a couple of weeks ago, and one of the guys, he's in the club, he had never been before. And we spent easily 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, just reading all the plaques, looking at all the detail. Dave Bush is a member down there, and so he knows a lot of the inside stories of, well, look inside here. There's a secret little detail underneath this bridge. And Dave knows what I'm talking about, the guy that's underneath the bridge. Yeah. So, but there's a couple of Easter eggs planted throughout there that if you don't know to look for them, you'd never see them. But some great model work, and it's great. I wish it was around the corner from me, because I would volunteer or work there for sure.
So I see the question here if the caps mattered on the giveaway, and I do not believe it does, because I was watching the counter go up on that as people were putting the hashtags in, and it didn't seem like whether it was caps or not made any difference on that. I see you had there you go, Sean. I see you had a question. What show did you go to today, Sean?
So I went to the Great Scale Model Train Show in Timonium, Maryland, which Star Hobby always usually normally attends. That's like in our backyard. Um, I noticed that show has been, unfortunately, been seems like it's been shrinking a little bit to me. So it was kind of like small today uh, as far as vendors and stuff like that. I mean, there's still plenty of HO there, but as far as other scales, I mean, G scale is usually already hard to find at shows anyway, like that. But I noticed even like O gauge stuff starting to, there's not a lot of O gauge vendors there like there used to be, and it just seemed like it was smaller this time around.
That's understandable.
I like going to train shows outside of my hometown because you get to see new stuff. You go to the train show like they have a couple every year at the Ohio State Fairgrounds, and I've seen all those layouts, even the ones that come from Dayton or the surrounding metro areas. I've seen them all. I was so excited. I was back home in Albany, New York, in November, and I saw a sign for train show this weekend. And why I about broke my neck, as I was driving by. I was like, whoa. But it was not next week. It was the next weekend. It was like, that's I wasn't going to be around for that. I was really looking forward to go see something new.
But at this point in time, unless something comes up in life, I am planning on going to the East Coast Large Scale Training Show and try and bring back some video from there for everybody.
Yeah, I'm on the fence still. I'm 50-50 on if I'm gonna go or not. I have a couple other things going on that I have to kind of weigh out, but I may join you there, Sean. We'll have to see.
Okay.
Road trip.
Yeah. So let's. I was going to say I'm going to go ahead and throw up the giveaway thing here.
All right.
So that we can see who's going to win the mug that Jed's giving away there.
Entries.
And I saw a comment from Kyle earlier asking where Nico was at so he could get robbed again. I'm not sure. I think Nico got tired of getting robbed. So let's see who wins.
Nico got tired of being robbed, huh?
Patriot Land Surveyor.
All right.
So if you are the winner, if you want to shoot us an email, it's send it to giveaway@largescaletrains.com. We will forward your info to Jed so he can get that to you. And if you look in the description of the video, you'll actually see I have the email address in there under the official rules for the giveaway. And remember, if you go and visit Jed, he'll fill that up for you.
That's right. But wait till summer when it's a little warmer outside, please.
That's what the beer is for. It warms you up, doesn't it?
Yeah, just because I model the Swiss Alps doesn't mean I want to be out there in the wintertime.
I wasn't enjoying being out there shoveling the driveway today. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there's I hope folks. Oh, one other resource about finding a garden railroad club. Take a look at grnews.org. That's a garden railroad magazine newsletter, and it's free. Just go to that website.
Yes.
It's a PDF that you can download and read it for free. It's color pictures. It's basically the folks who used to do Garden Railway magazine.
URL again?
www.grnews.org. And it's a great resource. And they
that in the live chat
in every state, or at least all the clubs that are participating, are all listed on page 40 of this of this magazine. And so if you're in Idaho and you're looking for a garden railroad in your state, look down and find one. But there's several here in Ohio. I always get surprised. He'll be over for a beer anyways. Yeah. Is that my doorbell? Oh, guys. All right, Doug, geez, slow down.
But yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we needed to cover? Just trying to make sure I didn't forget about anything.
Well, don't forget to mention our next guest.
Before we mention our next guest, I want to thank our current guest, Jed, for coming on and helping us do another wonderful show. As always, I learn something every time I talk to you.
As well. Yeah. Thank you guys for putting your show together. And, I started watching your show during pandemic times. I'm not sure when did you actually start your show? I forget, but
was it like November 2020, October 2020, somewhere around there when we first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was beginning of October probably when we started it.
Okay. So yeah, I probably tuned then, but just thank you guys for putting your show together and getting the guests on there. I've gone back and watched from time to time. You go, oh, there was something on the show that I saw. It's like, oh, I need to go back and find that and just find whatever that resource was. So, but I know these shows take a lot of effort to put together, and thank you for setting up the green room for me so I can enjoy myself nice and relaxing before I came on the show today.
Absolutely.
And thank you to Split Jaw for holding together my railroad on the basement floor here. And, I guess I won't be setting a record today eating split jaws, but maybe next time. All right.
Don't try this at home.
Don't listen to me. I've made every mistake in garden railroading, including eating split jaws.
So I think everybody's going to like our next guest.
Yeah. So on our next show coming up will be February 19th. We are actually going to have Channing Chen from MrPictovid Trains as our guest. Sean and I spent a couple hours talking to him the other day about being a guest. He seemed really excited to be coming on. We're really excited to have him come on as well. And I'll leave it up to everybody's imagination at the moment what we might possibly talk about during that show. I'll have a show description written up and put up here by next weekend. But I think it'll be another excellent show. I think everybody will really enjoy it. So,
Joseph, you'll have to watch the show to find out.
What's Joseph asking? Oh, the GP60. Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and I'll find out with everybody else because I still don't know the answer on that. I'm hoping soon. Teaser. So, if you could, Jed, when we do end here, if you could hang around for a moment after we end.
Yeah, I'll have my agent on here so we can collect the fees and things. So
your agent, so your wife,
my cat,
your cat. Well, all right. We thank everybody for tuning in tonight, hanging out with us. Anything you needed to add, Sean, or anything?
No, that was it. I just wanted to make sure that we announced our next guest, MrPictovid. He'll also be talking about the AML line, of course, and I'm not going to give too much away, but a little bit about the live steam end of it and the production. He's going to talk about that. So there's a lot of exciting things he's going to bring to our show.
All right. Well, good night, everybody, and we'll see you here in a couple of weeks.
Yep. We'll see everybody. Stay safe.
right.
And good night.
Good
care.
night.